Hey guys, welcome back to the channel for another throwback tutorial. This time I'm creating two looks using the LORAC Unzipped Gold Palette. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm starting by priming my eyes. As I always do, this is Maybelline's Master Prime in Smooth and Matte, and I'm applying that all over the tops of my eyelids, up to beneath my brow, as well as my lower lash line. Next, getting into the shadows, I'm going into the shade Undeniable and working on my crease first. I'm using the thicker end of an Urban Decay dual-ended brush that came in one of the Naked palettes, and I'm using that to cut my crease. Not being terribly neat with this, as you can see here. I'm really just working on creating that shape, and then I will also take some of that shade down onto my lower lash line. Next, I'm going in with a somewhat fluffier brush into the same shadow shade, and I'm using that to blend out the outer edges of my crease shade. The brush that I was using before laid down powder pretty heavily, and so this is just going to help go in and blend that out before we use some additional shades to make it seem even more seamless. Speaking of, that shade that I'm using is Undressed, and I'm using that to further blend out that crease shade as well as highlight my brow bone. Now moving on to the lid shade, I wanted to go super bold and shimmery, so this is the shade Unleashed, and I'm using a small, dense, flat brush to pack that all over the lid, right up to where it meets that crease shade. Then, to keep my eyes nice and bright, I'm going in with the shade Unlocked, which is a gorgeous, frosty golden white, popping that in my inner corner just to make sure things don't get too dark and closed off in that area. Moving on to liner, I wanted a nice, thick, bold wing, so I'm going in with this Gucci Eye Power Liquid Liner in the shade Iconic Black, using that to draw a line up on my upper lash line and then wing it out. I wouldn't say slightly, it's a pretty sizable wing, just to help balance the drama of the cut crease. Last up for the eyes is mascara. This is Bobbi Brown's Eye-Opening Mascara, one that I've really been liking lately for the way that it lengthens and volumizes my lashes. Like there's a pretty dramatic difference in the before and after here. So giving my lashes a few good coats of that. On to the rest of the face, I'm starting with foundation. This is Hourglass's Immaculate Liquid Powder Foundation Mattifying Oil Base. Mine is in the shade Ivory, and it's very warm and dark. A little too dark for my skin tone right now because I haven't been tanning recently. But I'm working with it, blending down onto my neck, and I plan to have a review of this foundation coming up. I have some mixed feelings. It looks great on camera, but doesn't necessarily wear flawlessly all day, every day. So have some thoughts on that, but this is what I'm using not only for this look number one, but also in look number two. So I'm not going to go through this again once I create the second look, just now. The same thing actually goes for the concealer and the rest of the products that I use on my face as well, except for the lips. That will change from look to look, but this is the Dermablend Smooth Liquid Camo Concealer, and I'm just applying that directly to my under eye area, around my nose where I have redness, and on my chin, and then I use my fingers to blend that in. I prefer fingers over a tool just because I find the warmth from my hands helps blend that into my skin really nicely. Moving up next is the brows. This is Hourglass's Arch Brow Sculpting Pencil, and mine is in the shade Brunette. You can see it has this nice angled shape to it, so it makes it really easy to brush through my brows. There's a spoolie on the other end. It's a nice little brow pencil that I've been loving lately. On to the rest of the face, I'm using the Maybelline Master Contour Kit. Mine is in the shade Light Medium, and I'm just using the contour and blush shades from here, running the blush under my cheekbones, along my hairline and my temples, and beneath my jawline, and then I go in with the blush, starting at the apples of my cheeks and blending back towards my hairline. Then for highlight, I used something separate. This is one of my favorites. It's Becca's Shimmering Skin Perfector Pressed in the shade Opal, and I'm just running that using a smaller, more precise brush around the tops of my cheekbones, down my the bridge of my nose, and then my Cupid's bow as well. Last up for this look is the lips, and I'm just using one product. This is Rimmel's The Only One lipstick in the shade 700 Naughty Nude. Giving that a good once over my lips, and that is it for this first look. So this is a little bit more of a dramatic look with the big wing, the bold lid, the cut crease, but I also wanted to go into a look that was a little more natural, a little more subtle. This can actually be worn both matte and shimmery, as you'll see as I'm creating the look. So let's go ahead and get started with that, using the same primer here in the same way as before, where I apply that directly to my lids. Then I go in with my finger and blend it all out. Then onto shadows. The first powder that I'm going in with is the shade Unwind. It's super similar to the shade that I started my first look off with, Undeniable, the shade right above it. It's a hint cooler, but basically they're pretty identical. I wish they would have included something different in this palette, but they didn't. So going in with that one all over my lid, using a flat shader brush to pack that pigment on, basically from inner corner to outer corner. Next, I am going in with that shade Undeniable with a fluffy brush and running that through my crease just to make sure, like in the first look, there aren't any harsh lines, blending it out really nicely so it blends seamlessly up to my brow. Next, to highlight my inner corner, I'm using the shade Uninhibited, which is very similar to Unlocked, the golden shade that I used in the first look, but this one is a little more pink leaning. It's going to complement a shimmery shade that I use later in this look. And then I am following that up with the shade Unedited. It's a deep matte chocolate shade that I'm using to deepen up my outer corner, add a little bit more depth to this eye look, as well as run along my lower lash line. Now this is actually where you could stop if you want a fully matte look. It's very daytime wearable, but still has a little bit of drama. However, if you want to add yet more depth, you can go in with this shimmery shade called Unpredictable. It's kind of a duochrome where it's peach, it's gold. You can layer it so it's more intense, or you can use it as kind of an overshadow like I am here, just in the center of my eyelids. It's going to bring the center of my eyelid forward, and then I'm using just kind of a fluffy blender brush to make sure that blends into the other shades on my lid, kind of alternating between that and my finger just to make sure it's maximum intensity right in the center of my lid. Once that's on, I'm done with the shadows. I go in and add a few more coats of that same Bobbi Brown mascara as before, and that's the whole look. Well, for the eyes anyway. Like I said, the rest of the face stays the same, and then for the lips, I'm switching it up to one of the new Bite Beauty Amuse Bouche lipsticks. This is the shade Pepper. It's a gorgeous dusty rose. These are so comfortable on the lips. I'll have a review of these coming up soon. But that's it. That is everything you need to create 2 looks using the LORAC Unzipped Gold Palette. Really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know what other throwback palettes you'd like to see in an upcoming tutorial, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye guys!